Hi, my name is Chris and I'm making this nature video for the Stuart Low Trust. Today I'm visiting Kew Gardens to see the bluebells flowering in the wood. The Queen's Cottage grounds is 37 acres of woodland of mixed native and exotic trees that's managed to be of the maximum benefit for wildlife. Brambles of scrub are regularly cleared to ensure that the light gets in to encourage woodland floor wildflowers and spring bulbs, in particular native bluebells. The cottage in the title of the cottage grounds is Queen Charlotte's Cottage, which when you look at it you think that's a whopper, particularly when you consider it as just a summer house, sort of a playhouse for the royal family. And it always feels, with all the bird song, how peaceful it is. And it would have been a wonderful place for a summer house for a queen. But nowadays, while it still is peaceful generally, and you can still hear the bird song, because it's on a flight path, every 4 minutes a plane goes over. And these are all bluebells. So they're native bluebells. They're indicators of ancient woodland. So they prefer undisturbed soil and lots of light in early spring. And they only grow in the UK and Ireland. And they're under threat because of habitat loss, but also because of hybridising with Spanish bluebells, which is dominant genetically. People say, what's the difference between Spanish and English bluebells? Well, the Spanish ones are much larger, a paler blue, and the flowers go all the way round the stem, whereas here, as you can see, with non-scripta, the English bluebell, all the flowers hang on one side, the stem arches over, so as you look across you can see they're all sort of bending their heads, they droop to one side, and they also have a distinctive much darker colour. And on the way back I'm going to try and find some Spanish bluebells which will really show you the difference. And of course it isn't just bluebells, there's lots of other wildflowers as well. So you've got this sea of blue, but then you pick up little pink highlights. And as you get closer you realise that interspersed Herb Robert, an annual geranium, is seeded through. And you've got this lovely patchwork of pink and blue. It's beautiful. And you can see above the bluebells, it's clouds of white cow parsley. It's a lovely plant. Up most hedgerows in the countryside, waves around in the wind. And not a bulb, but grows from a root, a fat root, looking a bit like a white carrot. And so again, make the most of when the leaves are off the trees in early spring to make enough energy to flower, clothe the forest floor and hedgerows before going back to bed for most of the summer. And so when you think they have thousands and thousands of visitors, how do all these delicate bluebells and cow parsley and other woodland floor flowers survive all the footfall? Well, they have boardwalks, and there's signs saying please do not walk off the boardwalk, which is very tempting when you see patches like that would just be lovely to get down in. But it means that everybody gets to enjoy it. You don't have lots of people running around in it, which would be really upsetting. And the route of the boardwalks takes you through the heart of the woodland, where great dense sways of bluebells are, and then bring you out to like this woodland meadow. It's lovely. And the boardwalk zigzags through woodland and open grassland, but all along there's good signage, but particularly constant reminders asking visitors to stay on the boardwalks. And I definitely endorse this message. Keep to the bars. I mean, here you can see an area where the brambles are yet to be cleared, and how in quite a short time the foliage and stems of the brambles will overtop the bluebells and would, if left unchecked, outcompete the bluebells. So I'm sure this will be on their list to clear, though bluebells are quite forgiving, and even after a number of years being overgrown, they would come back once the brambles are cleared, being adapted to the natural cycle of coppice woodland. And you can see here's a hazel coppice, which are a series of hazel trees. And hazel, when it's cut to the ground, will produce lots of shoots. And it's how it's managed. It used to be managed for, sticks to make hazel hurdles and fencing. But it responds by producing lots of shoots that then grow up to make a new canopy. And when you manage a whole woodland like this on a cycle, they do it on like a 5 or 10 year cycle, it means that periodically it's open to the sky, which is really good for all the forest floor flowers. And then once it's grown up, the canopy closes in, and then that will shade out a lot of the competitive species. Things like bramble and bracken and things like that, the things that would affect the forest floor wildflowers and outcompete them. And when it's done the cycle, go through the periods of full light, where all the wildflower and the bulbs really come into their own. And then as the trees grow back up and the canopy closes in, as the hazels grow, it shades out a lot of the plants, so they sort of go into abeyance. They don't die out, but some, particularly things like foxgloves, will last as seed in the soil, and they'll only then germinate when light returns to the woodland floor in 5, 10, 15 years when the hazels are recoppiced. And it's an ancient way of managing woodland. It means that the trees themselves will generally live a lot longer because they don't get the fungal diseases that they would if they were just left to grow. And it's a great landscape for wildlife. And much of it has been lost in the UK, which has had an effect on certain key species like dormice. When there used to be a lot more working woodland, dormice were a lot more common. Now the management has changed, dormice are incredibly rare. So here we have Spanish bluebell, which is much larger in all its parts. But you can see the flowers go all the way round the stem. And they're not all hanging on one side. So that's how you tell the difference.